Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new session today. And we have a very special guest. We have Danny Carroll here, and Danny is momentarily crushing it with his book. And he's going to tell you all about that in a second. But I just wanted to invite him over because, yeah, we've been in contact now for a few weeks. I think we connected on a book trailer, didn't we, Danny? Initially, we did a book trailer for your book.
Yeah, I followed you from your what is it, your webinar thing with Ray that you did.
Right.
That's where I found you.
Yeah, and after that we did a big book trailer, and we stay in touch after that. And he just launched his book. I believe it was like this week or last week.
It's been 1 week now.
Yeah, so in a week. So keep that in mind with everything we're going to talk about. That he just launched his book like over a week ago. I'm going to share my screen as well just to show you guys how his book is doing. Why, in my opinion, his book is doing really good, and also we're going to ask the author himself why he thinks his book is doing so good, so you guys can learn from it. So first and foremost, Danny, thank you very much for joining today. I'm really excited about this, and yeah, before we dive into the bits and pieces a little bit more, can you briefly tell the people who you are and what type of book you've written?
Okay, my name's Danny Carroll. I live between I live between India and Dublin, which is a strange combination. That's another long story. I've been in venture capital for the past 10-12 years as a business, as a hobby for the last 18 years now. I've been researching cancer. I've been looking for the cure solution to cancer for the last 18 years. I've spent the last 2 years writing my flagship book that I've just published on Amazon last week. So I've spent 17 years researching the book and 2 years writing it, and it's only about 70 pages long. So that's the broad background.
Awesome. Yeah, and so you've written a book about cancer treatments. You launched it like last week. I'm going to share my screen with everybody here just to show you guys how his book is. All right, here we go. All right, so we just want to show you guys how his book is doing live. And again, remember, his book is now up for a week. This is his book, Terminal Cancer is a Misdiagnosis. And he is a bestseller in at least one category. It's always really hard to see in how many. If
you go down, you'll see the categories at the bottom.
Yeah, you can
if you scroll down.
Yeah, you can hear.
Yeah.
In 2, I see at this moment, in 2-hour biography and 2-hour self-help short reads, and you're number 4 in a 3rd category.
I was also number 1 in alternative therapies, but it goes up and down, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah, but if you're still a number 1 like after a week, that's really, really good. I mean, a lot of authors manage to be a bestseller for like a day, but still being this after a week is actually really good. And you can see the reason why behind it as well is because you have 95 ratings, and this is, I mean, kudos to you, Danny. I mean, this is really, really hard to get over 50 reviews in the first week. A lot of authors are trying to accomplish that. You did it, and I'm going to ask you in a second, how did you do that? Because it's really, really valuable for everybody here on this call. And you got a 4.9 average, which is amazing, because I always say everything over the 4 stars, that means that you can actually market your book if you do want to try something like advertising or basically any other sort of marketing. Really, really good. But besides that, I mean, before I'm going to ask you some questions, I think the reason why I think this book is really doing well is, of course, you've written a very, really good book. Otherwise, you will never get this rating and the amount of reviews, of course. But there are a number of things in place here which I think did really, really good. And I think first and foremost is your cover. I think your cover is really good, really attractive. So that really.
I ran a cover design on 99 Designs.
Oh, cool.
Joris. Yeah, and they set an expectation that I'd get 15 or 20 entries into the competition, and I had 126. 126 covers to choose from. But strangely, this was the first entry to the contest.
Okay.
So,
Well,
yeah,
that was definitely a winner.
it's definitely a winner. I love it. Yeah.
Definitely. It's really, really good. Yeah, and
Yeah.
the other things as well. I mean, I think your book description is really good as well. Personally, I think it's a little bit lengthy, but that's the only comment, like negative comment I have about it. I read it before we actually jump on a call. It's actually really good, and these bullet points also really help as well. And as well your price. I mean, price is also good, like $9.99 for a paperback, 99 cents for the Kindle momentarily. You also have a hardcover, and the more versions of your book you can offer.
There's an audio book as well, but it's still under review with ACX. So the audio book
Awesome.
will also be added to this as well, right?
Yeah, and that's amazing. I mean, some people only listen to books, like the audio version. Some people only read books,
Yeah,
ebook,
that's right.
for paperback. So offering all these different options, you're reaching a broader audience if you do that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's amazing. So just back to like my question. We'll stop sharing my screen here. There we go. So yeah, Danny, tell me, how did you manage to do this? I mean, after a week, 95 reviews, what did you do? But before you do that, maybe it's a good idea to take one step back and take us through your writing and publishing process. How did you go about that?
Well, I wrote. I mean, I've been researching this subject for best parts of 2 decades, right? So, what I did, I wrote my first version of the book in 2021.
Okay.
Right, and literally the first version of the book took me like 4 or 5 days to write. And then what I did is I got that fancy book cover from 99 Designs. And then I started the process of engaging with audiences. I mean, that first version of the book, I think I sent that out to about, I don't know, about 3,000 people.
Nice.
Right. And what I did is I sent it out and I said, you know, rip it apart. I love brutal feedback. Give me the most critical feedback you can. And I got truckloads of it, right? So I mean, I got a lot out of that. I got editorial reviews out of that. I got 3 superb editorial reviews out of that. I got my book editor out of that process. In fact, I got 3 book editors out of that process in the end. So what I've done throughout the process over the last 2 years is write a version and send it out to a lot of people. Write another version, get more critiques, send it out to another fresh round of people and people to engage from the previous session. So what you're doing in that process is you're involving people in the process of both writing the book, so that they get a lot of buy-in and a lot of ownership from being involved in that process, right? So this process, I say, it's taken me 2 years in total. Throughout the entire journey, I probably sent the book out to, I don't know, maybe like 10,000 people, right?
Whoa.
I mean, I've sent it out to a lot of people. The objective was always to get the book to the point where it's a seminal piece of work, right? This book essentially contains the solution, or we can't use cure because it's an inappropriate word, but in terms of what people understand, it's essentially the cure for cancer in this book, right? So it had to be targeted in a way and written in a way that it would be seen as being objective, not emotional, just practical, logical, structured, scientific, systematic in the way it's been written. So I've written and rewritten this book on more occasions now than I can remember. But what you do in that process, when you accept somebody's feedback and then you build that feedback into your writing process, then you start building a tribe of people who have been involved in helping you to develop it. So how do you get your next question, how do you get 95 reviews in a week? It's you have to invest from the beginning of the writing process, engaging with the type of people who are interested in whatever you're writing about. It doesn't matter whether it's fiction or non-fiction, it's just a process, right? It's a process of writing. Even if you're writing a fiction book, you write one chapter at a time. You send the chapter out to everyone, let them critique it, people who are interested in this subject. And I sent you the system I use on AMZ Discover, where you can actually buy the contact details for reviewers in your genre, right? I mean, and for me, it's been absolute gold, right? I mean, getting somebody who I know is interested in natural healing and reads books in the genre and writes reviews in the genre. I mean, they're exactly the target audience you want, right? To be able to read and review your book. So I got a lot of people. A lot of these people who've left reviews here are from the people that I contacted in AMZ Discover. But as a general principle, what I recommend is that you have to find large groups of people who are interested in your subject, right? So I practice in a medical science, which I cover in the book. One of the contributors who helped me with this book, basically, she has a list of 5,000 people who are interested in this subject, right? So she's, whenever I request her to, she's been sending emails out to like 5,000 people, right, who have signed up to her newsletter and her website to say, right, I'm a practitioner, or I'm interested to learn on this subject. So she's been an extraordinary help, right? So the key to all of this for me is that, at least as far as Amazon is concerned, the first 30 days of launching a book are critical, right? If you do well in that first 30 days, Amazon will pick it up and start promoting the book, right? So your objective always has to be to do well enough in those first 30 days to get Amazon to start picking up the marketing of the book, right? So the mistake a lot of people make is they write their book, they finish it, they edit it, and bang, they'll put it straight up on Amazon. And once they've got it up on Amazon, they'll start doing the groundwork to start doing the marketing and start getting the reviews and all of that. You're killing your book launch by doing that. What you need to do is delay your launch for at least 3 months, and all of the marketing that you plan to do in the first 3 months of launching your book, you do that marketing before you launch the book. Yep. Right? So you do all your Facebook posts, and you go and find, whether it's through podcasts or whether it's through book reading groups, or however you get access to large groups of people who are interested in your subject, all of that groundwork needs to be done before you launch the book. I would personally recommend ensuring that you have at least 50 committed reviewers for your book before you even put the book up on Amazon, right? Yeah. All of those 50 are not going to come through, right? I mean, getting somebody who says, "Oh, I loved your book and I can't wait to leave a review," and then you get back to them and say, "Right, okay, the book's up. Can you buy the ebook and leave a review?" And then they go quiet, right? Now, so really sorry, life took over and whatever. So even if you get 50 people lined up ready to leave a review, and this is obviously not friends and family, right? Because there's a good chance they'll get struck out. Of those 50, you might get 30 that will leave a review in the initial period, and then you'll have to chase and follow up, and hopefully within the first month those 50 will come through. My target is to have 200 plus reviews in the first month, in the launch month. I mean, I'm doing pretty good so far, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm 1 week in, and I've got whatever 95 reviews up so far. But all of that groundwork has to be done. I mean, ideally, it has to be done throughout the process, right? It's no good trying to separate the writing and the marketing and the other thing I find is, I mean, I've been building consumer brands for the past 20 years, right? So this is not my first rodeo. Your marketing process should start before you start writing the book, right? You need to know who your readers are, what their likes and dislikes are, all of everything. You know, you need to have an intimate understanding of your reader before you start writing. I mean, I did 17 years of research, right? So I had a very intimate understanding of my reader because I'd spent 17 years helping them. But even for any book, you need to understand what challenges they face, what their likes and dislikes are, all of this, so that when you're writing your book is your product. When you're writing your book has to be written for the person who's going to be reading it. At the end of the day, the only person that matters in any business is the person who's going to consume the product. So you have to write the product for the customer before you start. So you have to know. It's no good just saying, "Oh, I got a good idea and I'm going to write a book." I mean, nobody's going to, you know, if you're the only person who's going to read it, that's fine. If you want other people to read it, you have to write it for the people who are going to read it. So the marketing process starts well before you even start writing the book. And then if you think through how you can engage people throughout the marketing process, do your research before you start writing the book, contact your target readers, find out the most powerful book in the world that you can write is a book that your customer wants that's currently not yet been written, right? What you're looking for ideally is you're looking to find unmet needs in the marketplace. Now, in my marketplace, all of my competition write essentially about how to die with some humility, right? And my book is how not to die. Right, so there's a clear difference, right? And so, yeah, I've got a clear differentiator. I understand my audience, and I've been writing for my audience and engaging with my potential readers since essentially before I started writing the book. And that's the critical thing. If you get to the point where you're launching the book and you have not started your marketing, and you should not be launching your book.
Give me a second. Yeah, there we go. No, you're absolutely right, Danny. You already, we are now like, what, 50 minutes on our way, and I think this is already a very value-packed session of ours. So really, really good. Yeah, I just want to add something to that while you were talking about that, because I can imagine if you are an author and you're looking at this session at the recording, and you're like, okay, so I want to, I get it. I need to build my audience. While I'm still writing it, and the early stages of the production part. At least way before you actually launch it. Okay, I get that. But the question I get a lot from authors is, but where do I find these audiences? So you delve into that a little bit, but I have a great tip for that as well. I mean, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And what I would do if I were in that stage, I would use a site like StoryOrigin. There are multiple sites like that, but StoryOrigin is a really good example. If you're not really sure what StoryOrigin is, in the community we have actually a course about it, so check that out. But it's essentially a place where you can cross promote your work with other authors via either one-on-one or group promotions. But there are other things that you can do. But what you basically want to do is like months in advance, you want to build your list, and you can use like an email list for that matter. And what you can do is either you have something else that's relatable to the content of your book. So let's say in Danny's example, he could use some sort of cheat sheet or maybe a summary or something like that, something that's relatable to your book, and then use that to give away in exchange for email addresses. Or if you don't have that, what you can also do is if you perhaps have the first, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 chapters ready, you can basically wrap that up, create a new cover for that as like a lead magnet type thing. Do make it so that the reader understands that this is a preview or work on a construction or something like that. But then you can, in the front and the back of that sample, you can let them know, hey, this is just a sample. I'm working as well, so maybe the chapters are not even finalized. So if you do that, you can maybe start it even earlier in your phase. If you have chapters that you maybe still need to go to editor or whatever, you can let the readers know about that. Right? This is what I got. Just want to get some feedback and want to get your opinions on this and maybe start reading it. And it would be really helpful if you want to join my email list. So that, yeah, you can stay in touch, you can learn more, and I can send you the other chapters or the complete full book when it's ready. And what you're basically doing then is you're basically building your email list because they are opting in for that. You get the email address and you can stay in contact with them. Now, if you do that way in advance, and if you do that, you push that hard enough, and you can use like cross promotions and the other tools that StoryOrigin offers, you can really build that list. Even if you start from zero, you might have like 3,000 people on your list if you're really doing it real and really go full force on it. If you have, the more potential reviewers you have, the more reviews eventually you will have. Like the ratio is like for every 100 book you give away or they buy or download or whatever, you get like 1 review. That's like the average ratio. So you can understand now with 96 reviews how well Danny has been doing with giving books away and building up that list. So like think out of the box. The StoryOrigin is a great tool for that. But there are many different ways of doing that. You can use like social media groups, Facebook groups, or whatever. Just make sure you find your audience. But start very, very early, because the earlier you start, the bigger you can make your list, the easier it's going to be. So yeah, I think that's really, really vital.
But if you can't find your audience, then you have a problem, right? I mean, if you're struggling to locate where your audience meets, then I mean, how are you going to market the book after you publish it?
Right.
All of these things need to be done and lined up well in advance. Otherwise, when you come to marketing it, I mean, then you're going to have the same challenge when you come to marketing it as you do when you're writing it. And it's much better to find out that problem and solve it before you start publishing the. You got 30. You have to look at it this way, right? You got 30 days on that initial launch on Amazon to make an impact, right? And you need to have all of your knives very, very sharpened, before you start that process, so that by the time you come to publish the book, you have to know that in that 30-day period that it's going to be a success, because you put all of the groundwork in before you started the publishing process.
Yeah.
Or at least that's the approach I take.
No, I think that's definitely true. And what are you doing in terms of marketing now? So yeah, we talked now so far about your strategy, like before you actually hit publish. But are you marketing it right now? Are you going to use like things like Amazon ads, or what are your plans for that?
Okay, well, I'm in the cancer category, so I have many constraints in terms of what I can and can't do.
Yeah.
Amazon ads I cannot use. I cannot use Facebook ads. I cannot use Google ads. So I then have to get a little bit creative and think outside the box. So my first push, basically, I'm lucky because I've been in the venture capital and stuff. I have a big personal network. So for my first week, I've been chasing to get the reviewers who committed to review, because that's the low hanging fruit, right? I mean, if you start, so when you start advertising, somebody's got to buy the book and read the book before they can leave a review. That may or may not happen in 30 days. So anything that I'm investing in now is potentially going to be for after the publishing period. You're only going to get in that 30-day period what you've already got in your pipeline, right? So my first 30 days, my primary energy has been on, I mean, I had just under 500 people that had committed to review my book, right? Of which so far I've got whatever, just under 100 across the line. I've still got another nearly 400 to get across the line. So my primary efforts are, those are people who've read the book, right? So they've read my book already. This process started out 6 months ago. So it's a long, slow effort over the period pre-publishing. Our first priority is to get the advanced reviewers across the line, and that's a lot of hard work. Is that you got to develop relationships with people. Right now, I'm lucky I can develop relationships with people where they say, Danny, you know, I've got this heart murmur, or I got this lung problem, or I got this pain in my leg. What causes it and how do I fix it? So I can help people in that way, which helps to develop strong bonds, right? But over a 3 to 6 months period, you got to develop those relationships so that when you come to the point of asking for people to buy the book and to post a review, that you have a decent established relationship. You haven't met them, obviously, right? But you've exchanged 5-6 emails, they've read your book, they've given you feedback, they said they love it, they'd love to post a review. You've got to have them, you've got to have everybody at that point before you press the publish button, right? And then even then getting them emails, yeah, I'd love it and I'd love to do it. As soon as you email them, they'll either go quiet and then they'll reply after a week saying, oh, I'm really sorry, you know, my mother-in-law got sick or something, or I'm on a family holiday or something. But life takes over, right? We are not the first priority in people's lives, and we need to keep that in mind. So you need to get enough people in your review pipeline so that if only 2 or 3 out of 10 actually come across the line in the period of that 30 days of launching the book, that you have still enough people, 20, 30, 40, 50 people that you still manage to get them to post a review. And then the balance, you just slowly follow up over time. Once a week, you send a reminder or something, and slowly in the first 1 month, 2 months, you get your 100 reviews, 200 reviews, or whatever it is that you're targeting. But all of the groundwork has to be done long in advance of actually publishing the book.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. Definitely true. And I think a lot of authors are just not thinking too much about that. So I think this is a crucial webinar, if you call it like that, or interview for them, definitely. And I hope that a lot of authors will see this before they actually hit the publish button, because I think this is helpful, because this is something that we from Cutting Edge Studios and then our coaches always mentioned when we work with an author, right? You have to start now, and these are the options you have. And but hearing this now from somebody else and showing the proof as well really helps, hopefully. So yeah, thanks, man. This is really great. You like a final thought? I mean, we have like a few minutes before Zoom is going to throw us out. So do you have any like a final tip, final thought that you want to share with us?
Invest in your product. Make sure your book has to be first class. I mean, investing in the marketing in a book is very, very important. But investing in your book, I mean, I've spent 2 years rewriting and editing my book, and it's been edited and edited and edited and edited and edited, right? It's insanely difficult to get a book so that it flows beautifully and to make sure it's word perfect. But to put that time, extra time, effort, energy, money into editors, into copy editors, into content editors, and making sure that your fundamental product is strong is absolutely critical. I mean, I've invested a lot of money in a very small book, whether it's the cover or the editors or the interior formatting and everything. If you want to have a chance of the book being a long-term income stream, then the book has to be a first-class product. And you know, and this is my first book, right? So your first time, you're not going to get it right. So write it once, send it out, get it reviewed, get it critiqued, write it again, send it out, get it reviewed, get it critiqued, write it again, send it out, get it reviewed, get it critiqued, and keep doing that until you think you've got a first-class product. And it's so worth the investment. If I showed you my first book and you compare that to my current book, I mean, there's no comparison, right?
Awesome. Yeah, no, it makes totally sense. Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, yeah, thank you very much for sharing this, Danny. I think again, this is really, really helpful. It was awesome having you on the call. And for everybody watching this, I hope this was really valuable. Check the other sessions out in the community. And if you have any questions, let us know. I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna basically copy and paste it behind this interview. I'm gonna add the book trailer we created for Danny, so you can check the book out a little bit more. And of course, check his book out on Amazon. It's an amazing book. So go right ahead, do that. Leave Danny a review. I'm sure he's really helpful if you do that.
Yeah. If you can do that, I'd be very happy. Thank you very much. That'd be amazing.
Also, all right, Danny, thank you very much. And for everybody watching this, see you in the next session.
Thanks, Joris.